We are so excited to have Whole Foods Market as a new sponsor because it just makes sense. We're all about good food and healthy choices, so this feels like such a natural fit. And fall is the season where we always end up hosting. Whole Foods Market makes it so easy to pull together a spread that feels special without stressing. For us, frozen pizzas are a go-to, and right now they're 50% off with Prime. And since Halloween is around the corner, I love that all the candy at Whole Foods Market is made without synthetic red dyes, no high fructose corn syrup, and no artificial sweeteners, which obviously is my jam. And the best part, if I'm busy with the podcast, I can just order pickup or delivery and still look like I planned it all out. Make your next fall gathering delicious and memorable with Whole Foods Market. Save 50%. That's right, 50% with Prime on select frozen pizzas through October 28th. Terms apply. Visit your local Whole Foods Market today, in-store or online. Happy fall.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast and are not intended to malign any religion, group, club, organization, business, individual, anyone, or anything.
I'm Sarah Edmondson.
And I'm Anthony Nippy Ames, and this is A Little Bit Culty.
We woke up from a cult, and that journey was captured in The Vow on HBO and in my memoir, Scarred.
Now, in this podcast, we break down the shame and secrets that make these experiences so destructive with honest conversations on how seemingly benign groups can cross into the cultiverse and how to spot and recover from trouble if it happens to you.
Each week, we bring in experts, survivors, and whistleblowers to explore red flags, resilience, and even share a few laughs because sometimes you gotta laugh.
Subscribe to our Patreon for early and ad-free listening, some live Q&A, and exclusive content at patreon.com/alittlebitculty.
Welcome to Season 8 of A Little Bit Culty.
Welcome back to A Little Bit Culty, everyone.
Today's guest is Amy Duggar King, a member of the famous Duggar family who grew up in the spotlight on TLC's hit reality show, 19 Kids and Counting.
The series, which ran for over a decade, showcased the ultra-conservative lifestyle of the Duggar family and became one of the most recognizable examples of Christian fundamentalist families on television.
Much of that lifestyle was shaped by the Institute in Basic Life Principles, or IBLP. If that name sounds familiar, it may be because of the Amazon Prime's explosive docuseries Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, which exposed the IBLP's authoritarian teachings and the harm that they've caused countless families. We have covered that documentary and the IBLP here on the podcast, and we'll include that link in our show notes.
IBLP was founded by Bill Gothard in the 1960s and promotes strict patriarchal authority, rigid gender roles, and an authoritarian approach to family life. While Amy herself was not raised in the IBLP, its ideology deeply influenced her cousin's upbringing in the Duggar household, and ultimately the way the family was portrayed on TV.
For years, Amy was branded by tabloids as a crazy cousin Amy for daring to push against the Duggar family's rigid rules. But now she's telling her story on her own terms. Her debut memoir, Holy Disruptor, is not only a reflection on breaking free from generational dysfunction, it's also the first time Amy is opening up about abuse that happened in her own home.
Up until now, she's remained silent about that part of her story. We want to acknowledge that on this episode.
We approach these conversations in a trauma-informed way.
Amy shares why now was the right time to tell her story, the pivotal moment that pushed her to break the cycle, and what she's learned about reclaiming her voice in the face of controlling labels and family expectations.
We love this conversation, and we hope that you do too. Here's our chat with
Amy Duggar King.
Well, welcome officially to A Little Bit Culty. I'm so happy to have you on the show, Amy.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to be here and honored, really.
Well, it's interesting to have you here because when your show and your whole life and your family and all 19 plus and you were on TLC, we were in a cult. Like, we missed all that. Like, I had to learn about you and your life after the fact with Shiny Happy People, and in some ways it's good.
I didn't really watch TLC that much.
Well, too, but I just didn't watch any media. And now we get to sort of have like a, you know, I have no preconceived notions about you and who you are other than what I've read in your book. So I don't have the same baggage that maybe the rest of the world might have.
We have good objective questions.
I'm excited for your questions.
All right.
Before we get into it, how are you doing? How's your book? How's your book tour? How are you feeling with being public about all of this in your whole life?
Yeah, it has definitely been crazy, and I'm just taking one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the most perfect words. I don't have like a speech prepared for each podcast or each interview. And I just am going to be true to myself and be authentic. And I think that will shine through in the story and just kind of what I've come from. And I hope it just helps a lot of people.
I think your book, it will definitely help a lot of people because you have an audience that may or may not know about the types of abuses and coercion and oppression that you detail so beautifully in your book. So I think that you have a voice and you have an opportunity to educate people who might not know otherwise.
And if you're coming from there, it'll read.
Thank you. Yes, that's like my hope and prayer, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I believe that God's just opening doors and I'm just like walking through them and I'm like, okay. So it landed me here with you guys this morning.
Amazing. So for those people who may have also been in a cult in the 2000s or were living under a rock, do you want to give us a little sort of summary of where do we even start? Where do we even start? Let's start like
the distinction that she was born into it.
You were born into
is important.
There's a couple things we're going to talk about that are culty or cult-like or have to do with abuses of power in different spheres. Your home life, your IBLP life that your cousins were involved in, and then the media around the show that was on TLC. So there's like different culty elements we're going to cover. Where to start? Where to begin?
I would say the structure that you were born into and the guardrails that you were born into, and then the subsequent awareness of those guardrails and how they weren't healthy, and then they were abusive, and then how you had to reconcile that, I think would be a good place.
Okay, that's a good place. I grew up with like not a ton of rules. I was kind of carefree. I was outside. I was tomboy. I wore jeans. I was a normal teenage girl, went to the mall, all the things. I am an only child and I have a lot of cousins. A lot of cousins. None of them could do basically almost anything that I did. So it was a very like different parallel life. There was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of just confusion growing up in my family where I lived in my house. My grandparents moved in with my mom and I when we were younger. My mom, I should say, preface this, my mom and dad had me out of wedlock. So they were not married and their relationship was extremely abusive and unhealthy in every way possible. And so my grandparents moved in to protect my grandpa, especially, moved in to protect me and my mom from that situation. Meanwhile, there is my aunt and uncle with all of their kids, and they're all homeschooled, and they're all like little ducklings, perfectly mannered and just super sweet and loving, and they follow the Institute of Basic Life Principles.
Right. And we've covered that with an episode with Lindsay from Shiny Happy People, when season 1 came out. So our audience should have a pretty good understanding. But for anyone who missed it, how would you define IBLP and why is it problematic?
Oh my gosh, there's so many reasons. One, I don't believe that the men have there's so many. Hold on. Let me think for a second.
Yeah.
I actually say in my book, I actually start my book off by stating all the things that I can't stand about the IBLP and then backing it up with like biblical references. But one I just don't like is that the men are not held accountable for what they do. So the men are above the women, and the women really don't really have a voice, and they just have to go along with what their husband says. And so they can make and create their own rules in their homes, whatever that might be.
Right.
So that's like the number one. Second, they don't teach like sexual education. They don't even teach the word abuse. Abuse is not even a word that anyone in the IBLP even knows what that word means. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
So just to set the scene, you have this IBLP adjacent to you. How involved are you in that world, and how much was it informing your parents, grandparents? Were they involved with it as well? And were some of the influences in the household that you're in?
Yeah. So no, my grandma like wouldn't wear pants. She was kind of more IBLP at times. She kind of picked and choose what she wanted to be. My grandpa could care less about it. I was not necessarily in it, but when I was at my cousin's house to get away from the craziness going on at my actual home, I went to my cousin's house and it was kind of like a safe haven for me. And when I was there, sometimes I would write notes. Sometimes he would have it playing on the TV because they didn't really believe to watch anything else. And he would be like, all right, everybody get out your notepad. It's time to write notes. And
What are
we'd be
notes?
like, just write down the things that Bill Gothard and all the instructors would say. And so when I actually went on Shiny Happy People later on down the road, I gave them my notebook of notes that I had. And I was like, oh, look at this. Like, this is what I wrote when I was like 12, 14, whatever.
Wow.
And it was like no winking. Oh gosh, eye traps were a big problem. Right now, I am wearing an eye trap.
Yes, you sinning eye trapper.
I'm a spinning eye trapper. Yeah. So there's like just several things that I would do. And then also sometimes, not all the time, but IBLP went to different churches and spoke in different congregations. And because of that reason, I went to some of those and I can still remember some of the things that happened there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So your family wasn't IBLP, but you were, because your cousins were, you got a little bit of the indoctrination and then you got a sense of like what you wanted to do or not do. And it sounded like it was not for you.
Yes. I also knew the rules. I also knew like what I couldn't do, what I couldn't do, and how I kind of had to change myself in order to like fit in with my family better.
Did you see it as abusive?
Not for a while. Not for a while. It took me a very long time to see it as abusive. I saw it as they're a loving family. Everything is wonderful and peachy keen until it wasn't.
What were some of and obviously we would love our audience to read your book and go through the whole, your whole journey and by the way, the picture that you paint of your home life and your mother's home life and the domestic violence that you both experience is horrific. And I'm so sorry that you went through that and that you both went through that. And I'm so glad that you're on the other side of it. So you can
Thank you.
help give other survivors a light out and a path out. So important. You really paint that picture so well of how you needed to get away from that. And then you enter this other world, which seems peachy keen at first. What were some of the moments that you felt in your gut that something wasn't right before you really understood the full picture?
I thought this is just my opinion, clearly, but I just felt like the girls were like extremely quiet, like very shy, but it almost was like, why are you being so quiet? I felt like they didn't let a lot of people into their world. Even as a cousin, I wasn't, and I say this in the book, I was not necessarily like a part of the group, like I was, but they like didn't let me like in the inner circle. My family could not, especially my cousins, they could not let me in because I was not an IBLP member. So they were like, we love Amy, but we love her from afar. And so that kind of bothered me. I noticed whenever there was a lot of people in big groups, because there was like a ton, hundreds of people would come to my cousin's house all the time. Like it was insane. And I realized that whenever that happened, the girls would like run upstairs and like go into their room. And it was like, interesting. Very interesting. So I just started picking up on, I don't know, little things like that. And it wasn't until I noticed the oldest son, Josh, who had a porn addiction problem. And I confronted my uncle and told them what I found, and all of that's in the book as well. And he told me that I must be mistaken. There's no issue here, and we're done with the conversation.
So denial of reality, gaslighting 101, which you also spell
100%.
out so eloquently in your book. You probably didn't know you were being gaslit at the time. You didn't have that word yet.
I did not know. No, there was a lot of things that happened all the time. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, total gaslighting, completely just, it's textbook. It's textbook, in my opinion, narcissistic abuse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it seemed like because you'd already experienced it with your dad, who was constantly denying reality and making you question your own perceptions all the time, that probably set you up for also wondering, like, what was that like to have lived that and then tried to confront the way things were done in your cousin's life?
Oh, it was like pulling nails. No one believed a word that I had to say, no matter what it was. And I talk about several instances in my book about how, like, I noticed things and I would be like, hey, I need to talk to you about something I've seen. And they were like, you must like, there's no truth to this. And so I just learned to like not trust my instincts and not talk about it and live in silence as far as like what I believe and what I wanted to project and what I wanted to say. And I just learned that my voice didn't matter.
Also, I think the nickname Crazy Cousin Amy isn't an accident. I think that's designed to undermine your outside perspective as in fear. I don't think that was an accident, but they were certainly willing to leverage your personality
Yes.
for ratings, because Crazy Cousin Amy isn't so crazy to a lot of people watching, I imagine.
Right. No, exactly. That's why it was just so strange. I was like, I'm kind of like the relatable one, like just normal. I was also young, immature. Sure, I'm in my 20s. I'm just living it up. Here I am on a show. Sure, but I confronted my uncle about the crazy and I said, why is that a part of my nickname? Like, why does that have to be my title? And he was like, oh, just go along with it. No big deal. Like, just don't worry about it. It's nothing. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I know that you can take crazy in many different ways, that title. And I really do feel like I was villainized on the show and I felt like I was kind of the scapegoat.
Well, as a producer, like I would probably recognize, okay, I've got this Duggar family and I have a warm audience there. And to that warm audience, I can bring in this outside force, make her look crazy, but at the same time, make her more relatable to people that see the Duggars as a little bit off as well. I mean, I imagine it's the perfect, like, relatable villain, whatever, if that makes sense.
Right. People on the show either idolized my family and like were moving into the area and like changing their views and like going toward the IBLP because of my family, because they were like the poster child. They were the it family to follow. So a lot of people were moving in. A lot of families would visit, all kinds of stuff. People from overseas would visit. But then there was also those that are like, look at those quacks on TV. Like, let's tune in for this. So they had both. And that's what honestly made a really good TV show, is that they had both audiences. And I do think that just producers in general, not even just ours, but in general, they know how to make good TV.
Sure.
They know how to make good TV. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely was the relatable villain for sure.
To emphasize Nippy's point, whether it's a producer's choice or your uncle's choice, having you be titled that way gives you zero credibility. So even if you did see something and come to them with anything, you're crazy. So
Correct.
Not to be trusted.
Right. Yeah. And I think that really, I don't know if they meant to do that. Like, I have a hard time believing that my uncle was like, I'm going to call her crazy, or like, or I'm going to title that because I don't want people to believe her. I really don't know. Maybe so, but it definitely became that.
Well, I'll say this, Amy, with good people, and this is what allows abusers to get away with abuse, is good people can't project that kind of malevolence into another mind.
Well, that's true.
And that's what allows people to get away with it, because they can dismiss it and you won't consider that even someone close to you would do that to you. And that's what allows abusers to get away with it. I mean, that's consistent in every one of our stories.
It definitely is consistent in my book. And the more and more, I think I just gained more clarity about it and spent more time learning and educating myself. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it definitely clicked like a light bulb.
Yeah, you got there. It sounds like.
There was a number of times in your book where you saw something and then you were like, but then I also believed that, I can't remember the exact words, but there's no way that he would have wanted blah, 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 blah. So I trusted him again. And and I'm going, don't do it.
It's hard.
But it's hard because it's your family too.
Yeah. It's hard. I didn't want to like make a riff. I didn't want to be the crazy one. I actually tried to blend in more than anything. It wasn't in the cards for me. I stuck out like a sore thumb. I just had a different personality and a different mindset and, all these things. And so, man, sometimes I left there, you guys, feeling lower than dirt, like really, like just at the bottom of the floor. Like I had nothing to offer. I felt like no one cared. No one loved me. No one supported me. I had no one to talk to. My mom wasn't really on the show that much. And so she didn't really understand, and she had her own problems with my dad and all that. And so I was just, here we go. What's going on? Like, yeah, my world was crazy for a while.
And for those who haven't read it yet, just to be clear, you're on the show, you're showing up for, weeks at a time to shoot, or the hours are you don't know our story, but before we were in our cult, we were both in film and television. So we understand this world as well. And we know how grueling it could be. And to see that you were not getting compensated and you were handed a contract that removed all your rights for compensation. Do you want to talk about how much that chaps your ass, Nippy?
Well, it was the moment where I think you had gone and paid for everything, like the birthday cake, and you had done everything for the show.
Right.
So it's your gas, your dime, your time. And the producer, I think, followed you out the house that day and gave you $600 or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
That felt like hush money to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like, okay, so this is a producer who understands your value, understands what they're doing, and felt like, hey, maybe I should give her $600 when it probably should have been closer to 60 grand.
Gosh, right? Well, I'll be honest. I'll tell you right now. I don't know if you've ever worked with like the TLC network or any of the people, but our film crew were awesome. They really were. I had a lot of fun with them. I laughed with them. We connected, like even off camera, and like followed each other and all kinds of stuff. And so for me, like I trusted them, but in that moment, I did not know my worth. I had no idea. I had no sense of like what that would be because I was already not being paid anything. So yeah, that was the moment that I was, whoa, like, and I honestly saw it out of kindness that he did that. He might've felt bad for sure. I'm sure it was it was an all day process. Of making a Noah's Ark cake out of all things. And I'm like, what in the world for like 60 people? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. And so it turned out great. It was super cute. It was a super cute cake.
I'm sure it was.
I definitely earned that and probably plus a lot more, like you said.
Do you think, and by the way, the film crew is normally the most fun people on set because they're the most
so
like,
fun.
in most jobs that I was on. Do you think that they were sensitive to like the unfairness and then the exploitation of, not just you, but like the 19 kids, and must have been privy to some of the stuff that you saw more so than what you were? And the thing I always go is, how are people complicit and how are they doing this? And how do they not have some sort of conscience of like, hey, something's wrong here?
I saw it, but it was not very often. And it was like not in front of everybody. Like the things that I saw were someone was hiding. I'm telling you, like you would think that with like a lot of crews, a lot of cameras, a lot of things like that, they're like all over the house, but they're not. There's 19 kids. So they've got cameras just on where they're at.
Oh,
it's not like Big Brother. The cameras weren't put up randomly throughout the house. That's not how it worked. And they just followed the kids. So I don't know if they ever saw anything. I truly don't know. But I know that Jim Bob kind of ran that show and everybody answered to him. And no one y'all, it was like sweet melody. Okay. Like kids were making bread and they were playing chess and there was jazz, or not jazz, but like classical music and hymns, and everybody seemed to get along. And it was like the sweetest harmony you've ever seen. So everybody was shocked. I know the film crew afterwards were absolutely devastated. I know that for a fact.
Wow.
When they found out, which we'll get to shortly.
Yeah.
So no wonder this show was a beacon for other Christians or people who wanted to live the IBLP life. These children, the cousins, who are also not being compensated, if I'm correct, right? Some of them eventually did get compensated?
I think there must have been some inner workings later on, but I don't know the totals or anything.
No, of course.
The hush money.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know how people are going to react to my book because there's a lot in it, a lot of truth in it.
Let's jump to that for a sec. What do you think are the things in it that people are going to react to or have trouble with, or like, what are you anticipating?
I don't know. No one knows about my grandpa. Nobody knows about the abuse that I went through. Nobody. Not even my best friend. She came over and read a couple of pages and was like, I didn't know any of this. And I was like, yeah, I know, because I kept it all like silent and inside. My book is going to, I think, drop jaws in all kinds of ways because people don't know any of it. Like, really. They know the things that were on TV. They know what I was portrayed to be. They know that character, but they don't know the real me and they don't know my real story.
Very brave of you to put it out. It really is.
Thank you. I could have written about anything. And when I had this chance to say, like, what kind of book would you like to write? I am not a sugar coder at all. And I was like, I want to write something that can like just grasp hearts and like change lives. And so, yeah, I told them I don't want to just write about one story. I want to write really my entire life story and then make it to where I have the readers think about their own life as well. And just how they can apply, boundaries and just all the good tactics and techniques that I've learned in order to have like a healthier life. It's been a crazy ride.
Do you think your cousins will read it?
I don't know. I don't know if they're allowed to. I know that they're adults and they have their own cars and they can go to, Walmart and pick it up or Target. I don't know if they will. I don't know. I've even said this in the book. I don't know what they've been taught. I don't know what kind of lies maybe have been fed to them. And I'm here for them if they ever want to speak.
I'm sure that you're at least one of the 19 is going to reach out. That's my bet. One or two, and maybe more.
Let's take a break from the Cultiverse. Here's a word from our sponsors. Hey everyone, it's Nippy here, and I'm here to tell you about the new addition to our thoroughbred lifestyle. As we've shared, Sarah and I are pretty healthy, or we try to be. And now there's a new sheriff in town, AG1. We do the smoothies, the gym sessions, the whole deal. And it's still tough to get every nutrient into our bodies to keep this podcast gold going. Finally, we tried AG1 and thought, all right, let's see if this lives up to the hype. And spoiler alert, it does. AG1 is a daily greens powder with 70 plus vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients and 5 probiotic strains in one scoop. It's like our entire supplement routine gets replaced with something that actually fits our lifestyles. It's clinically shown to support gut health, fill nutrient gaps, and boost whole body health. Since we started, we both noticed the energy bump, no mid-afternoon crashes, and our digestion has been on point. The new AG1 Next Gen, they've stepped it up with killer flavors, tropical berry, citrus, plus the original. No more pills, one scoop, in the water, boom, on our day. What I love is how AG1 backs it up with gold standard clinical trials. In an industry full of empty promises, they're doing the real work. Peer-reviewed, rigorous science to prove it. For less than $3 a day with a subscription, you're getting over $7 worth of premium nutritional support. That's a no-brainer for simplifying your wellness. Want to try it? Head to drinkag1.com/culty to get a free welcome kit, including a bottle of vitamin D and free AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. That's drinkag1.com/culty.
Hey everybody, Sarah here. As you probably know if you're listening to our podcast, I have hit perimenopause, and that means I can no longer drink in the same way that I used to. And back in the old days when I was young, I used to have a drink or 2 or 3, but I just can't do that anymore. It totally affects my sleep and I get night sweats. And I still, however, like to be social and get a little buzz on, loosen up a little bit and have a drink in my hand, which is why I'm so excited about one of our newest sponsors. It's called Soul, and their products are out-of-office gummies and drinks, and these have been my new go-to. They help me unwind and ease into my evening without the alcohol or the next day fog. Soul gives you plant-based alternatives that deliver the relaxation and vibe you want without the headaches, the sluggish mornings, or performance dip. Soul is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. It specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, and enhance creativity and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you can tailor the dose to fit your vibe, from a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose to their newest 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. And if you like their out-of-office gummies, try their new out-of-office beverage, a refreshing, alcohol-free alternative that's perfect for winding down on the couch or socializing with friends. Bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Soul today. Right now, Soul is offering our audience 30% off your entire order. Go to getsoul.com and use the code Culty. That's getsoul.com, promo code Culty for 30% off. You know that first crisp fall morning when you break out the oversized sweaters and pretend you're starring in your own coffee commercial? Yeah, it's a vibe. Okay, but here's the real secret. The best part of fall is what's underneath. Me Undies. Thank you for sponsoring this podcast, Me Undies. Their micromodal fabric is basically like a cozy little hug for your butt. Lightweight, breathable, and perfect for layering season. And this year, their Halloween collection is everything. I'm talking spiderweb all over lace. Yes, it's as gorgeous as it sounds. And glow-in-the-dark undies that are somehow spooky and sexy. With over 20 styles and 100 colors and prints, there's literally a cut for every butt. Plus, MeUndies are sustainably made, unbelievably soft, and backed by 90,000 5-star reviews. Fall is officially better from the bottom up. I love my lace full bottom panties, sexy but also practical. I wear those under my shorter dresses, and I gotta say, I love my husband in his MeUndies boxers. Very soft and hugs everything in all the right places, if you know what I mean. Right now, as a listener of our show, you can get cozy and spooky for less with deals up to 50% off at meundies.com/culty and enter the promo code culty. That's meundies.com/culty, promo code culty for 50% off. MeUndies, comfort that's made for fall.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now let's dive back into the Cultiverse.
I want to know more about your healing journey and how you got to the point that you felt ready to put yourself out there like this. But tell us a little bit more about your experience on set and with your cousins and how some of the other red flags that start to pop up that you now realize are red flags that you didn't have the language for at the time.
Well, it wasn't really on camera.
Right.
That's the thing. It was on camera. I was happy-go-lucky, and my cousins all hung out with me and loved me, and we had this really good relationship. Same with my uncle. My uncle and I had a really good banter going on, and we laughed and joked and all of that for a really long time. But after the show, after we filmed, it was just, okay, see you tomorrow. Bye. And so I didn't really have it was like very surface level conversations. And whenever we did talk on camera, it was about the topics they wanted us to talk about, right? It wasn't about real life or deep things. And so I just realized that they never had a deep conversation with me, ever.
So you were curated.
Absolutely.
It feels like, yeah.
Yeah, it was very curated.
Was it a situation where when you were done, you were kind of ushered out and okay, that's it for the day. We'll see you tomorrow
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, there were times I ate dinner with them, and then there were other times that I was exhausted.
Right.
I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta get, bye. And so, yeah, I mean, after filming, I would just leave. I'd be like, see you tomorrow or see you at interviews or whatever. And so I never really stayed long periods of time at my cousin's house. I know that sounds terrible if I'm not filming, but that's just that was our quality time.
Well, you have your own life too.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I worried about my mom. That was a very unhealthy situation for a very long time. And so I knew that I had to get home to take care of all that.
When you say all that, tell us a little bit about what you were dealing with on the home front while you were on the show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I lived in constant fear, not just for my safety or how my dad would go off the handle. There was a lot of glass breaking, a lot of yelling. He had a metal trash can outside that he would throw things in a whim. He burned a lot of things. Nothing that really needs to be in the trash either. Just jewelry and things that we loved. I honestly feared for my life, and I feared for my mom's. And it was a very emotional abuse. A lot of words were said. A lot of threats were made that he would end my life. He would tell me in detail how he would want to end my life and how he would want that to happen. And, I'm already feeling low and small on camera. And so imagine just how I came home to just feeling utterly worthless and not knowing what was going to happen at any moment.
That's so scary.
Very two different, very abusive atmospheres. When I wrote this book, I was like, I've had to be a holy disruptor on both sides because it's really true. I had the dad stuff, and then he would go to church on Sunday, smile, the most charming man, the most charming person. And no one knew the problems that we were facing and how scary it really was. And then obviously on the other side is a whole other vortex of crazy. So yeah, I've had to really work on myself a lot and untangle a lot of things.
In those atmospheres, would you say the one constant is religion and that's informed by religion, or they hide behind religion a little bit?
I think that people hide behind religion. I think that it's like a filter that they can put on, and then they can just be a different persona. And that's a really scary place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Religion and patriotism or nationalism are the ones that tend to happen on extreme right.
unless it's in true in your heart.
Unless it's
You know,
real. Yeah, of course.
by your fruits you shall know them. So like looking at it, like I'm a believer, but I think you can tell that there's joy in my life now. You know, like I walk the walk, I talk the talk.
You've integrated the faith and you're not leveraging
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
100%. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be someone I'm not, and I'm not trying to like get something out of it and not trying to just hide a monster inside, you know?
Right.
And it's really sad how many people do that.
I think that's one of the, that's a potential downside. There's, obviously a healthy relationship to faith and spirituality. And then there's the using it for toxic positivity. Everything's great. And, we're all pastel and loving each other, but there's darkness underneath, which if you're in that toxic positivity, you'd never face the darkness. Hence what happened to your cousin Josh.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. And I did not see that coming at all. But I will tell you that, yeah, it was like the Truman Show and everything was going great, smooth sailing. And then I hit that wall too.
What was that moment for you in your life?
That moment was a ordinary trip to Walmart, and I was checking out lots of things in my arms. And I normally magazine racks don't really, catch my attention, but I noticed a magazine cover was a big headline that says House of Horrors, and it was my cousin's home on the magazine cover.
Wow.
And I just stood there in disbelief. What do you do? Think it's a house you've been to a million times. It's the people you grow up with. It's the people you love. And here's the thing. They've been in lots of magazines. They were very popular at this time, but none of them were ever that scriptic and that bold in what they were saying. And I've never seen a negative headline about them like that. So that really, I just stared at it. I was completely like, there's no way this is true.
What did that article say? You had already had this interaction how many years prior with the pornography you found on the computer from Josh?
Yeah, so like several years back, my dad bought a computer from Josh, and which is normal. He always had the newest tech. He always was selling things off to get the newest. So it was at my house, the new MacBook, the big one. And I'm like learning all about it. And I, just going on the menu and looking through everything, just getting familiar with it. And I found a file in the menu that said Josh's files. And I was like, oh, he must have forgot to delete something because I know he's really into cars and all the things. And I clicked on it. And I was mind blown and disgusted and also like extremely shocked. But there was also like a wave of relief because what I saw was thousands of pornographic images that were saved on the computer. And it's not a crime. Porn is not a crime, but at the same time, it's a very big no-no to be in the IBLP and to consider that a healthy way of viewing anything. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I showed my mom. She was like, oh my gosh, we have to show Uncle Jim Bob right now. And I'm like, yeah, we probably need to do that. So I call him up and I'm like, hey, I have some information I need to tell you, all the things. And he is like, Amy, Josh got that computer from a guy at a pawn shop. And there's no way that there's truth to that. It's not possible. My son would never look at images like that and have sin in his heart like that. And so I was like, what do you do? And so he hung up. I asked him before he hung up, I said, if this is all true, if what you're saying is true, why is the title named Josh's Photos? Why is it Josh's file? Well, Josh is the name of the files. And he goes, there's a lot of Joshes out there or something crazy like that, and hung up.
Do you think he knew?
I have no idea. Personally, in my opinion, I think so. But I also think that in the IBLP, you're supposed to be happy and shiny and you have no problems and you can't shine a light on darkness and the things that, you can't. You're not allowed. You're really not allowed. You're supposed to have this godly Christian home and, you can't have problems. That doesn't look good.
So on our walk before this, I was talking to Sarah about this specific situation where the kind of need to put on the front doesn't allow people to work out the natural things and impulses that normally society kind of corrects you in. If I have every impulse I have, I think it's bad and I have to bury it, there's going to have to be a way I have to act this out. And that's why I think a lot of times, particularly in churches, you see kind of sexual perverse behaviors because they help facilitate that. Do you think that relates to this? I mean, I don't think he was born that way.
No, I think it 100% has to do with it. I also think it has to do with a lot of IBLP and how what they teach and how they teach young men and how they're not even allowed to see or know anything about a woman at all until they are married and heading to the honeymoon suite.
Yeah, that's not good.
So that can't happen. That happens way puberty. There's a million things they need to know before honeymoon suite. And so if they're never taught self-control, they're never able to enforce that, then what happens? Well, they're going to find avenues and different things to look at in order to get ideas and to learn. They're curious.
Yeah, if your first experience of any sort of sexual encounter is watching porn, it's not going to end well.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
There was a point in your book where you listed out all the different excuses for what was actually happening when Homeland Security showed up at Josh's work.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember those off the top of your head, but it was like they were just, the Homeland Security was lost and was stopping by. And
the 10 lies.
What were some of the other things?
There's a lot of different ones. Josh was friends with the Homeland Security officer and just stopping by. One needed directions. They couldn't find the house that they were actually trying to search. Oh gosh, there's so many. The media doesn't like Christians. That's why they're being portrayed in such a bad light. Oh, there were so many. One, it was an ex-con that was working at Josh's car lot. And so it wasn't for him. It was for the other employee. It goes on and on. Yeah.
Is the show going on still at the same time? Or is it done?
It already stopped, yeah.
But there was a new show, right? Counting On?
Yeah. So after there's been 3 big scandals. The first one was the sexual allegations against the sisters, which is heartbreaking. And that was the first one. The second was just stupid. It was called the Ashley Madison scandal. And he used my grandma's home address. And he used a famous picture of a DJ and got on a website called Ashley Madison, Life is Too Short, Have an Affair. And went out on his wife. And she was pregnant with their 4th child or something like that. That blew my mind.
Is that the actual tagline of Ashley Madison? Life is too short, have an affair? Wow.
Yeah. It's really sad. He had, I think, 2 accounts or something like that. Really sick stuff. So yeah, after the first scandal, TLC nicked it because how can you have a show with that? Everyone was devastated. The whole crew, everybody was devastated. Not just because there goes a paycheck, but because they didn't know as well as I didn't. So everybody found out on national television.
How horrific.
Damn.
Did you and Josh ever talk about it?
Not about that. It's one of those things that I stayed clear until I confronted him, until I wasn't getting any answers. I wasn't getting any answers from anyone about anything. And I got really pissed off one day and I was just like, that's it. I'm going to go talk to him. And I did. And I got my answers that I needed.
How'd it go?
I left feeling like a superhero. Let's just say that. There's more in the book. I don't want to spoil it. But
good for you.
Yeah, I got my answers. And I realized really quickly that this was a very unsafe environment and that I have to choose better for myself.
Is he in jail now?
He is.
How much longer?
Not long enough.
This is for child pornography. This was the 3rd scandal.
3rd scandal.
Okay. Did IBLP or his dad make any public statement about this? Or is he still touting that this is a setup because you're Christian? The question is he still defending or is he?
Yeah, what's the fallout?
I believe so. Yes. I believe so. He's all, yes.
Was there any major significant fallout to the church after this? Did people wake up?
No.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not there. I haven't been around that in a long time. So everything's changed in my world.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But as far as the church goes and the elders and the IBLP and all that, no, I think everyone's still intact.
That's nuts. And your cousins?
I don't know 100% because, again, I haven't spoken to many of them in a very long time. But I believe that they, love their parents. They're taught that. And they're going to go with kind of, in my opinion, what they're taught.
Right.
Right. They haven't learned probably yet, in my opinion,
It's
to think
hard.
for themselves. Because why would they have to
Why
be?
would they?
Yeah.
Really good opinion, Tara. Yeah, I agree.
Even cult podcasts need sponsors. Check out these must-haves. You know that feeling when you're eating pretty clean, taking your supplements, doing all the right things, and yet your gut's still cranky, your energy's meh, and your skin's just not giving that glow? Yeah, same. That's why we are so excited about our newest sponsor, Cowboy Colostrum. Colostrum has been liquid gold for a reason. It's the first nutrition we ever get at birth, packed with immune factors, growth compounds, and nutrients our bodies still crave. Cowboy Colostrum does it right. Whole, first-day milking only, never over-processed, never diluted, and always ethically harvested after the calf gets theirs first. Mix it in your coffee, milk, smoothie. It's ridiculously easy. Vanilla in a cold brew latte. Chef's kiss. I had one this morning, and then I did another one, chocolate, because it was that good. Strawberry, basically a milkshake. People swear by it for gut health, hair growth, immunity, recovery, and honestly, I feel the difference. This morning, I woke up feeling like I might be getting sick. I did 2 doses, and I'm feeling so much better. Besides, there's no fillers, no junk, just pure, grass-fed, small-batch colostrum from regenerative U.S. farms. It's nature's original superfood. With a cowboy hat. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off their entire order. Just head to cowboycolostrum.com and use code CULTY at checkout. That's 25% off when you use code CULTY at cowboycolostrum.com. After you purchase, they will ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Enjoy! Anybody else feel their anxiety spike when you hear the question, "What's for dinner?" and you haven't planned anything? This is like a daily problem. Not anymore, though. Thank you, Hungry Root, not only for being our sponsor, but for sending us a box of groceries and for changing our lives. Hungry Root fills your cart with personalized groceries and recipes based on a quick quiz, and it gets smarter every time you order. We're tracking over 15,000 recipes, many of them ready in 15 minutes or less. Hello. Plus snacks, sweets, smoothies, even supplements. Whether you're gluten-free, dairy-free, high protein, high maintenance, or just hungry and cranky, or hangry as they say, they've got you. And because everything is high quality and screened for junk ingredients, you can feel good about what you're feeding the family. Hungry Root saves you tons of money too. Less food waste, fewer impulse buys, and way fewer last-minute takeout bills. The Hungry Root experience has completely changed how we do food in our household. Thank you, Hungry Root, for being our new sponsor. And please do take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box. Plus, get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/culty and use code CULTY. That's hungryroot.com/culty, code CULTY to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/culty, code CULTY.
The world is full of tours. But you don't choose a Toyota truck to follow the beaten path. You choose it to find the places in between. The detours, where each adventure pulls you toward the next. And wrong turns turn out right. So why would you ever take a tour when you could take a detour? Toyota Trucks.
Thank you, sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. Now let's get back to the show. So in our normal format, there's usually like a moment where people wake up, they realize they're part of something abusive, they leave. Would that be the third scandal, or was there an accumulation of things? And do you see like a point where you're like, okay, I'm done with this and this part of my family, or was it more of a slow unwinding?
It was slow and unwinding, but I cut off all contact basically I say that. I took a very long, deep pause after the first scandal. And then I didn't go back to their house or really involved myself in their lives at all after.
And when did you start to do your own healing journey? From that first scandal till now, how did you get your life and your voice back?
So it happened when I got married. I married a guy that is blunt and is like healthy and like knows like exactly how to get my attention. And because of that, like I said, I didn't grow up with any kind of example of what a healthy marriage looks like. And it's all I've ever wanted is to feel safe and to feel seen and to feel heard and to feel like really loved. And so I knew I had work to do. I knew that first off, I couldn't bring a child into this world until I educated myself and worked on myself. I had to learn how to regulate because I was angry. I would go 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. I had a lot going on because think about it. Once you've been yelled at constantly your whole life, you hear glass breaking, you hear all these slam doors, you hear all this chaos, you live in chaos. So I had to learn how normal life isn't boring. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not like on a ride anymore, right? There's no highs and lows. It's just all, okay. I mean, everyone's all like, yeah, we disagree. All right. It felt really boring. And I felt like, oh my gosh, like this is my life now. Like, and then I realized like, I got to a place where I realized it's peace and it's something that I've never had.
Wow.
And I'm never letting it go. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
What kind of therapy were you doing to help you get there?
Oh, all kinds. I was listening to all kinds of podcasts. I was reading different things. My favorite book is by John Ortberg, The Me That I Want to Be. That one really helped me a lot. My mother-in-law, thank God, she is a therapist as well and works a lot with EDMR, works with all kinds of different things like that, abusive situations. Yeah, so I read The Me I Want to Be by John Ortberg. My mother-in-law is in therapy, and so she's a therapist. She's not in therapy. She's a therapist. She knows what she's talking about. And so I just started to kind of unload on her. I said, here's how I felt. Here's how I felt like no one listened to me. And I would tell them the truth. And then I would be denied of like my reality. And she's like, Amy, that's gaslighting. And I was like, what? And so I learned, I started like educating myself on all of these different topics. And yeah, I knew they had to be in the book. They had to be in the book. A light switches on and you're like, oh my gosh, I see it for what it is. I'm done with the manipulation.
Right.
I'm done with the control.
Gaslighting's a feature of these churches, and a lot of times, like they use the faith to gaslight you.
For sure. Yeah. No, 100%. It was a lot of manipulation. There was a lot of manipulation.
I'm going to send you a copy of my memoir, which is what happened, how I got in and out of NXIVM. But our next book, I'll also send you when it comes out. And there's a little bit of overlap because we do explain gaslighting and narcissism.
We have chapters on it.
We have whole chapters on it. And then we have case studies from our podcast. But I think that you'll see a lot of correlation from your experience. I'm so curious, so many cults. Well, actually, no. First, let me ask you this. Did that word ever come into your vernacular in your healing journey? Like, was that a word that presented itself in terms of IBLP as a cult, perhaps, or domestic violence being the same parallel structure as we call it a cult of one or a family cult where the abuser is like the cult leader?
Yeah, I think I wasn't really involved in the IBLP, but I definitely considered that a cult. Yes, I consider that a cult. Yeah.
When did you put that together? Or how did you put that together? Was there something that you read or something you saw, or how did you make that connection?
I just started looking at the leader and looking at his life and looking how he directs people and the cracks in the foundation of the things that go on. And listen, this is one family, okay? And they just had a camera on them, but there are probably thousands with the same stories. It is something that is it's like a breeding ground for
literally
lies, scandal, and cover-ups and crime. Yeah. And it's just not dealt with and they don't speak of it and they just move on. And so it kind of gets stained in the family name and people are not allowed to heal because they're not allowed to get counseling outside of the IBLP, infrastructure. Yeah. And because of that, people just live with shame and guilt and pain. And then they grow up and they've got babies and they got whatever. And guess what? That pain and shame and guilt starts all over again.
How do you think that cycle breaks? Are you hopeful?
Oh, I think that cycle breaks when people start being holy disruptors. I'm not kidding. Yeah. That's a good tie into my book here.
Yeah. Tell us what a holy disruptor is.
Holy disruptor is someone who literally looks at toxic cycles and patterns that happen in a family dynamic or just in your life at all, but especially the ones that act like they belong to Jesus, but it does not equal Jesus, right? When you look at something, you're like, that's not Jesus. that's not real, that's like very unhealthy and very wrong, then you can disrupt it, because that's what God does. He flipped over tables. He got mad.
Mhm.
He had boundaries. And so I truly believe that's what kept me safe and is still like my guiding light till this day.
TLC should have a show for you on this, don't you think?
I don't think they would. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Or somebody.
It could be
If they
not so
ever
crazy
do,
cousin.
oh man, not so crazy.
Not so crazy.
After all.
I would love to know, when we pull back, and a lot of our podcast episodes cover different religions that can be a little bit culty, a lot culty, hence the name of our podcast. But so many cults use spiritual or religious authority to justify harmful practices. And yet you have a healthy faith. How do you reconcile your love for God or Jesus with the toxic theology and abuse you experienced and your family's belief system? Like, where are you now with that? How did you get back to something healthy?
Yeah, how do you trust that now?
Yeah. So I had to really look at the Bible. I had to really ask myself, do I believe this because I've been just taught this, or do I believe this in my heart of hearts? I looked at his traits. I looked at the things that are in the Bible. I looked at, the things how he's taught us. And one verse sticks out, and it's that God is not the author of confusion. And that really clicked inside my brain. And I was like, that's it. From now on in my life, I'm going to funnel everything through peace. Peace be still in every aspect of my life, because that's what God wants for us. He wants that for us. So when there is confusion, when you are feeling threatened, when you are feeling manipulated, when you are feeling like something is off, something's not right, something is wrong here, but you don't know how to really, maybe name that definition, and you haven't done that work. I believe that's not of God. Whatever it is, whoever it is, wherever you're at.
So what advice then would you give to listeners who read your book or might be listening to this and feel like they're trapped in something oppressive or cult-like family system or ideology or religion? How do they get out and find their faith again?
Yeah, well, if you are allowed, I would say run to the nearest therapist. Definitely get that going, because that can definitely help you just, untangle all the things that you've been taught and just help you see both sides. I think that really helped me, laying it. Another thing is make a list, make a list of the things that you want for your life and what you have now. And then start literally disrupting, start looking at it and being like, I will no longer allow this. I will no longer allow that. In order to do that, you have to kind of cut off the toxic. It's hard. It's really hard. I wrestled with it. For a while there, I was like, have they really done something that bad where I can't have them in my life? It's families forever. Family always supports each other and loves each other and supposed to live at peace with each other. And, what do I do? What do I do? And then I realized, wait, I'm having confusion right now. This is not what God asked for. This is not true faith. And so for me, I made a bold stand, and I really believe that other people can too. If you have a family member or someone that is hurting you in any kind of way, abuse is not love. And learning those reasons why can just change your entire life. So I believe you have to be strong, and you have to say enough is enough.
Even if it means leaving your family.
Even if it means leaving family, friends, or home, whatever it means. I've walked away, and now I can honestly tell you there's no drama in my life in any way, not with my friends, not with family, not with anything. And well, there is a family, but you know what I mean? The ones that I'm in contact with. And I can honestly tell you, man, the storm may rage all around me, but it doesn't affect my inner calm.
And how long has it taken to learn how to have that inner peace and calm?
About 10 years. About 10 years so far. Yeah, I got married in 2015? Maybe 2015, something like that. And so, 10 years. 10 years of just working through things and, like I said, self-regulating myself and working through just everything I've been taught, and honestly having confidence. I didn't have confidence for the longest time. And every time, I said this one other time, but every time I have a podcast and I talk about things, I'm like, that confidence grows just a little bit more. And so I am I really am so grateful to be here talking about it, because not only is this helps, your following and your readers or the listeners, but it also helps my heart to kind of believe in myself a little bit more.
That's great.
That's great. And that's what we hope to do here is to connect with survivors and learn from each other and, put a little bit of wind in your sails and your book, help get it out there and hopefully reach a different audience. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to talk about, or anything that we missed that's important to you?
I would just say that this book is my heart on pages. I didn't have a ghostwriter.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was a long road. I didn't believe, that I had anything to write at first. I was about to call and be like, never mind, forget it. I got nothing to say. And then I got out of my own way. And I was just like, okay, here it goes. And so I just started writing, and just every word is from me. So...
Did you have an editor? Did you have somebody helping you, or a writing coach, or tell us about the writing journey?
I did not have a writing coach at all. I did team up with Susie Flory in the book. I'm sure you see that on the title page. She actually helped me with the structure of my book. So she is like a book doctor who takes different chapters and then changes the chapter structure, which was incredible. So yeah, as far as writing though, I've never had a writing coach. Honestly, I've never had anything like that, but I just wanted to write from my heart and really just dive in. I didn't want it to be ChatGPT. I didn't want it to be, anyone but me and the things that have really gone on. And so, I don't know. I think I did a pretty good job being my first book.
You did.
I think so, for sure.
Did you narrate the audio version?
That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
The audiobook?
Yes. That's what I do for a living other than this, is audio. And it's very, I narrated my own as well. And it was very difficult. So I commend anyone who doesn't have that skill set already to even attempt to tackle it. So good for you.
I had no idea what I was doing. I went to sleep. So I got it done. I had 3 days to get it done, and I got it done a day early, which was great. But I slept the entire next day.
It's exhausting.
I was so exhausted.
I'm so curious, after 10 years of peace, what compelled you now to write this and to put yourself back in the spotlight?
Well, first off, I told my editor, I was like, I don't know if even 5 people will read this book. I really don't know. And she's like, oh my gosh, you can't believe that, But for a while there, I really didn't think it was going to be this large project. So it hasn't been 10 years of peace, that's for sure. But I have worked on it.
Worked on that for 10 years. Yeah.
Yes. After the Josh scandal, I was asked to write a book. And I was like, there's no way I can do this right now. I'm grieving a family I thought I had. I'm grieving connections. There's a lot of things that I have to really work through and heal from. And I told myself, though, if I ever were to write, I would just want to help people. And so when I really thought about the things that's gone on in my life, I prayed about it. Literally. And I was like, okay, God, what am I supposed to do with this information and what I've learned and all of that? And 2 days later, I got a call and they said, are you ready to write the book now?
Wow.
And I was like, I think so. And so that began the journey of what you're seeing now, and what readers will read and listen to and all that. It's just really important to me that I feel like so many people stay in way too long in unhealthy situations. And if you can do anything to break out of that, if I can help one person to get out of that a day before, they weren't going to, and change just even a little bit of their story, it's 100% worth it to share mine.
Totally.
I love that. Our new soundbite around this topic has been, making the pain useful somehow for somebody else.
Definitely. I definitely feel like just healed people heal people. Have you ever heard hurt people hurt people?
Yeah, yes. That's a great point.
Yeah. Healed people can also heal people. And so I'm sending everybody my love with this book, and hopefully just connect the dots. A lot of people just know the show was on. It was number one. It was great. It was awesome. And all of a sudden it's off the air. And there's a lot of backstory that people don't know. And I think it kind of it shows human nature and it shows truth. And I'm going to be louder with it. So
good for you.
Here it is.
I love it. I love it.
I feel like it's going to inspire a lot of people to, let those skeletons out of the closet and Own them. Like why be ashamed? Why be ashamed?
I used to believe that there are no skeletons in our family closet. And I opened up that door and I was not expecting what I found. I talk a lot about generational trauma, and I'm just glad that like it doesn't have to continue. I think that's just what I want everyone to know, is that it doesn't have to continue. Exactly. It's gone. It's no longer a part of my life, and it's not going to affect my son. And that's just like, that's everything to me, you know?
Mm-hmm. He's a lucky guy.
He's so blessed. He's so loved and cared for and protected. It's not even funny. Yeah. It's a true, like, just full circle moment, you know?
Yes. Amazing. Well, thank you, Amy. This has
congrats,
been, congrats on your freedom, on your
journey.
Voice, on your disruption, on your sharing, on your book. I really do think it'll help a lot of people.
Well, thank you for reading it and allowing me to come on here and share my heart with you guys. It's been great.
What a treat. Congrats on everything.
I loved it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on A Little Bit Culty. Please do let us know what you thought of this episode. Remember, we are now on YouTube, so you know what to do.
Check out Amy's book.
And like, link, subscribe, all the things. See you next time.
Sinking down to the depths of the ocean, hanging on to the weight of my love. If I let go of it all, I could leave, but I know I won't.
We hope you're enjoying A Little Bit Culty. If so, please do show us some love. Drop a rating or leave a review. Hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/alittlebitculty.
Even better, send this episode to someone who needs it. Maybe they're in a cult. Maybe they're just a little bit susceptible. Or maybe they just love a good story. Spread the word, spread the love. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
A Little Bit Culty is a Trace 120 production.
Executive produced by Sarah Edmondson and Anthony Nippy Ames in collaboration with producer Will Rutherford at Citizens of Sound. Our co-creator is Jess Temple Tardy.
Our production coordinator is Leslie Dinsmore.
Writing by Sandra Namoto and social media marketing by Eric Swarzinski and Brooke Keene.
Our theme song, Cultivated, is by the artists John Bryant and Nigel Aslan.